So you want to get your car tuned and you start Googling. You found hundreds of different tuning options with various prices and you aren't sure what to do next. Well, don't worry, we've got you covered. These are 5 things you need to know before you tune your car. OJ Lopez here at Fluid MotorUnion. Our day-to-day operations primarily maintenance and repair, but we're also known for building some crazy custom project cars since our inception in 2008. With our full fabrication shop, in-house 4-wheel drive dyno, we build and tune cars year-round. Working with hundreds of different tuners and tuning ourselves over the years has taught us the important ins and outs. And what I'm going to share with you is some of those facts. Before we dive in, I need a big favor. Make sure you like and subscribe. Just hit that little like button down there and subscribe, because right now it does not monetarily make sense for us to be making these videos, and every little bit that you guys do helps us dedicate more resources to getting you this content out there. So let's get started. Essentially, there are a few different ways you can go about increasing your car's performance via a software calibration. The first is commonly referred to as a canned, box, or off-the-shelf tune. This type of tune is a pre-made tune offered by a company who theoretically has tested it on your car with specific parts installed. For example, a stage 1 tune for stock cars, a stage 2 tune for cars with exhaust modifications, etc. Stage 3 for modifications further than that, and on and on. These contain modifications to the ECU, including timing, fuel, boost, etc. But usually they're relatively tame to take into account the setup for your specific car, but it might be a little different. For vehicles equipped with pretty standard parts, these type of tunes are a great budget-friendly way to optimize your engine control. You can just flash the tune and you're good to go. The second way is via custom tuning. Custom tuning consists of working closely with the tuner, taking logs to see how the car is responding to the changes, and going back and forth with adjustments until the car is perfectly dialed in. This can be offered either in person, like a dyno tune, or an e-tune where you email back and forth with the tuner. These kinds of tunes are best for maximizing power gains, reliability, and drivability. A custom tune will contain more fine adjustments to a lot more tables than what would be typically included with the box tune. They can accommodate for more heavily modified cars as well. If you have installed a more complex parts like bigger fuel injectors, a different manifold, bigger throttle bodies, meth injection, or just want to make sure you get the safest, most reliable power with the fuel you're using in your area, then a box tune isn't going to cut it for your project, and you'll need probably the custom tune I'm talking about. Lastly, let's get into R&D tuning. This is the most difficult and in-depth kind of tuning. A tune is really only as good as the tuner's information. When a car program is initially developed, it's not a one-party affair. It's built as a joint task between the makers of the vehicle as well as the builders of the computer control module. And this process is a collab between multi-million-dollar companies, and it still takes years of research and development. So you homebrew a turbo kit and you expect the tuner to have your car running safely and driving great in a couple hours? Maybe, if they've done a similar setup before. But more often than not, you are in the realm of R&D. It took Audi 3 years to dial this car in, and you expect a guy with a laptop and a dyno to make double the horsepower safely in 48 hours? Be real. It all depends on the access to the information the tuner has. Sure, he can richen it up and remove some timing, but what about torque limiting? What about camshaft adjustment, transient fuel, spark correction, or the hundreds of other tables that might need adjustment? Do they even have enough tables in their definitions to make the changes that need to be made to have this thing drive appropriately? Sometimes you have to give it a try before you know if you can even get it done. And if that's the case, are you comfortable with paying for a project that ends up in failure? You can't guarantee a result if it hasn't been done before. And if that's the case, are your pockets deep enough to fund tuning for research and development on an engine that took years for a multi-billion-dollar company to dial in? This Audi R8 is a perfect example of just one of those scenarios. What originally came to us to have the emissions monitor turned on quickly turned into a trap that ended us completely redeveloping the software. This twin supercharger kit was originally developed using European software with the emissions monitors turned off. Now, in order to pass emissions here, even with all of the emissions equipment still in place and still functioning, A lot of those things are going to act differently, are going to change. And some of the information that we have access, the tuners that we have access to, can actually get this car to safely and in accordance with our local emissions laws, pass emissions correctly. The problem being, though, is that the original software built by the company was done in a way that took countless hours to finish and to develop. When we're given it, going into the software isn't just a matter of jumping in on top of their file and changing a few things. They may do things differently because they had different information that they were privy to that we're not privy to, or vice versa. And getting those two things to sync up doesn't always happen very quickly. So the main issue here was getting the car to pass emissions on a US standard program that wasn't ever intended to pass emissions. Once we eliminated the original program, there was no going back. So what turned into originally us thinking that, hey, we're just going to flick some monitors on, the file should be open, turned into it being locked out and us not even able to getting in there. We've previously discussed various types of stock ECU remapping, but there's one remapping option to consider. Standalone ECUs are crafted from the ground up with the explicit purpose of delivering comprehensive control over the engine tuning. They come from a diverse array of manufacturers, boasting the capability to oversee virtually any engine imaginable. Some are engineered as direct replacements for factory ECUs, utilizing existing wiring and sensors, while others necessitate wiring to your engine and may require additional sensors. This becomes an excellent choice for vehicles requiring absolute control over parameters or the adjustments of functions that are not present on stock ECU programming. This BMW is a turbocharged E46, however, it's using an earlier M52 engine. This is running a Vipec standalone ECU, and this car's been a whole lot of problems from the get-go. What originally started as some diagnostics for an overheating issue has turned into something way past that scope. After we determined that the engine had damage, we enlisted a tuner to remotely tune the Vipec standalone ECU system. However, that ended up very, very poorly, very quickly, damaging the new engine that we had just rebuilt. This thing's been here far too long, but this can be a common nightmare if you don't plan who's tuning your car and how it's being done before you get started. This is just something that can happen, and you need to be aware of these sort of things happening before you get into it. Is your vehicle in good running condition, or are you trying to tune around issues? The amount of times we've heard, I installed an exhaust system on my car and now it runs like shit. It just needs a tune. Well, that's true that you should tune to optimize when you add new parts. It's not true that simple bolt-on modifications installed correctly will make your car run like crap. If it's running bad, it means something is wrong, and it could be an underlying issue that was exacerbated by changing parts or beating on the car, or maybe something that got damaged when installed incorrectly. You could be surprised how often we see O2 sensors swap side to side after an exhaust installation. Besides this, tuning will push your car to its limits, so you need to ensure your engine and supporting systems are in good shape and can handle reaching those limits before you decide to drive in. Is all your maintenance current? Are the spark plugs the proper heat range and installed and gapped? Is your fuel pump original and barely able to push out enough for your current demands? Have you prematurely replaced common failed parts on your vehicle? Did you carefully pick out well-designed, tested, and reviewed parts proven to make good power and reliability? Or did you just buy the cheapest ones you could find? Depending on your answers to those questions, should you really be spending your hard-earned money on a tune? Here at FMU, we do a pre-tune inspection before commencing any tuning. That way we can double-check the work, try to catch potential issues before they become a big problem. But it's important to remember that your local tuning shop is not to blame for complications when trying to tune your poorly maintained project car. Set your goal and develop a plan and budget. When are you doing this in your stage of plans? Do you have more mods coming up? Do the mods warrant tuning right now? It doesn't make any sense to pay for retunes, so carefully plot out your modifications that you can maximize your budget and minimize the time wasted. Before you mod your car, you also need to know who you have to plan to tune it. All cars are not created equal, and depending on the information out there, it may be actually really difficult to find someone with the expertise to tune it. And how much is it going to cost? If that's the case, it's good to know before you drop 10,000 bucks modding your car. Because if the setup you just homebrewed, it actually might be doubling the price if you have to R&D it. The tuning world is very secretive. No one wants to let anyone else know what they actually have. Many people assume that because they have proprietary information that no one else must have, it has to be kept a secret. Well, that can be the case, but more often than not, it's because the tuner doesn't actually want you to know how little effort they're putting into it. Maybe they've got a friend with some really good info they got a hold of. They paid a hefty price for some really accurate definitions with the hopes of reselling it hundreds of times to make a big profit, or the file service that they subscribe to had it, and they're just the middleman. This doesn't mean you're getting a subpar product if any of those things are the case. It just means you might be overpaying for an off-the-shelf or box tune because of how much is spent on marketing. You might be able to get a bit more with a customized calibration for the same price. You need to do your research. Reach out to the tuner. Listen to see if they sound braggadocious but general and vague about the terms they're using, or if they actually sound knowledgeable and confident. You also need to consider that tuners are more often on the software side and usually not equipped with the depth of mechanical knowledge needed for some of these late model vehicles. If they run into something that seems like a mechanical problem, that pretty much would be the end of the line for tuning. You'd hit the stop tuning and go find someone who can diagnose and repair the issue. So unless you're very experienced as a DIY mechanic, or you are comfortable diagnosing and fixing potentially complex issues on your car, then we'd recommend finding a do-it-all tuning shop that knows the ins and outs of your car. Maybe us. They'll be able to recommend parts in your car, install everything, and make sure everything's running properly. They'll also take care of the tuning and be equipped if something does go wrong. It'll be a massive benefit if you find yourself in this situation. Having a tool like a dyno is crucial when it comes to being able to see if the changes you made are not only beneficial, but also repeatable. And a big part of that is safety. Lots of things can go wrong when you're trying to have a car make its maximum horsepower while strapped down and in place. So a lot of things need to be checked beforehand, which is why we do an inspection anytime before a car ever makes it to the dyno. The other second crucial part is knowing how to strap the cars down. And in all honesty, it's kind of an art that comes from years of experience. It's not just a matter of putting the straps in the same place every time. Strap placement can vary from car to car, even within the same makes and models. For instance, this car has an exhaust that runs a little bit closer to where we'd normally put the straps, which means I have to be a little bit creative in where I run the straps. You need it to be able to hold the car down while it's making its power, but at the same time, be away from anything that it could bend or break when it does come under load, and still keep the car secure and safe. So it's not just strap the car down and find out what it does. Sometimes setting up a car on the dyno to be safely and repeatably dynoed can take upwards of 45 minutes, depending on the car, some of the all-wheel drive setups, or if the car's real low. In some cases, on some of the exotics, we got to remove the rear bumper. This car is a little challenging because it has a coilover system as well as the exhaust system running very close to where the rear control arms are. That being said, I've kind of got an idea where this thing's going to stay while we're running it to see what kind of power it's making. You need to understand the risks. You are changing a calibration that the factory spent countless hours developing to run correctly across many different climates, altitudes, conditions, and uses, as well as the fuel quality and air quality. There are inherent risks above and beyond an engine getting damaged. You can make power by adding timing across the board and desensitizing the knock tables, but what happens when 93 octane labeled gas is actually 87 pumped into the wrong tank? There's no free lunch when it comes to the tuning world. And oftentimes, the cost is increased fuel consumption, increased emissions, or slightly decreased longevity. What if your tuning company goes under, or the EPA determines the company that made your handheld loading device can no longer offer support for its products? If everyone online says an engine will handle 700 horsepower without internals, does that really mean you're going to be problem-free if you tune it to that limit? And if it does let go 8 months down the road, who's going to be left holding the bag? Can you afford to build another new engine? If not, you probably shouldn't be setting your car up to that limit. Imagine tuning a car like this Lamborghini Huracan here and your tune, let's just say, has a higher rev limiter set. And sure, the thing shouldn't allow you to downshift and spin that thing up, but it is possible, maybe if you're going down a hill and you bump that rev limiter up a little bit higher. What does that mean now if your safety margin's a little bit smaller with that increased rev limiter when it comes time and the engine actually does overrun? Are you going to bend a valve, maybe cause some internal engine damage, possibly catastrophic, and have to replace a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 motor? You really need to think about these things before you just jump in and tune everything. So as a recap, guys, you've got to know the scope of your project and how in-depth of a tune it's going to require. You need to set your goals and plan and budget. You need to understand the risks. You need to make sure your vehicle's in good running condition and make sure you're not trying to tune around an issue. Also, make sure you're picking the right person for the job. If there's an overarching point I'm trying to drive home, it's just really, you need to do your research. You need to take your time before you go about tuning your car. The engine computer is the brain of a fuel-injected vehicle. And if you're not careful, you could cause some catastrophic issues that are going to delay your project or increase your project by amounts that you didn't even plan for. Hopefully you found this video helpful when it comes time for you to pick an ECU tune and who will be tuning it. As a reminder, we regularly do remote tuning, ECU tuning, and standalone engine tuning, and we've kind of seen it all. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Until next week, guys, stay tuned.